So I actually still have my ticket for this film. It's a 10-year-old ticket. I'm gonna save that. It might be worth something someday. Probably not, but it might. Maybe. The Two Towers was the first one that I experienced in theaters. As I said in my original review, Fellowship came along on DVD and it blew me away, and so by the time this one came out in theaters, I was set. I was on board, I was ready to experience this, and I was pumped for this movie. Two Towers is a film that is a little bit different from the first in a certain way. For one, you have all the characters now in place, and so you can now move forward, and it starts just right off the bat. You have to have seen the first film. You can't just come into this one. You have to watch these films in order. But it's different in the sense that it does have a slightly more somber feel to it. The first one was a little more hopeful, it was a little more adventure filled, and as the first one ended with the death of Gandalf and everything, it turned the series into a more darker direction. The whole series really has a dark tone to it, really, but this one just had a slightly more meditative feel. You know, it's a little bit slower. It's the one with the least action out of all three of them. Yes, the Battle of Helm's Deep at the end is just non-stop insanity of awesomeness, but for the most part, the first two acts of this movie don't have as much action as the first film did, or as Return of the King does. There's a lot more character development, a lot more building of these relationships. You get introduced to new characters. King Theoden, which is one of the most important characters in the entire trilogy. He's a character that you didn't learn about in the first film. You don't hear about him, you didn't meet him. Now, he's one of the biggest pieces of the Two Towers, his character, and Bernard Hill plays him very well. I was really impressed with this performance. I actually kind of feel like it's an Oscar-worthy performance in itself. You get introduced to this character and he is just nothing. He's just a brick wall. Karl Urban is his son. This guy doesn't care at all about what's happening in Rohan. He doesn't care about his people anymore. And he's basically controlled by this guy, Grimo Wormtongue, this little disgusting man that for some reason reminds me of Chris Kattan from SNL. I don't know why, but he does. But he's being controlled by Saruman, who's being controlled by Sauron. All these people are being controlled to do evil things. And there's this amazing scene where Gandalf comes in, because yes, Gandalf the White comes back in this movie very early on. He comes in and he's just walking straight forward to this king. He's, "You will not get out of here, you are the..." And the greatest thing about this scene is there's all this epic action happening around him, like Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas are taking out these guys. But you don't see that. You just see him kind of blur through the background. The camera stays with Gandalf because that's where the focus of the scene is. Peter Jackson didn't allow himself to, let's just show the action over here while Gandalf says some words. He made it so much more epic by focusing on Gandalf while having these guys running around in the background. It looked so great. It was such a cool way for him to do this scene. So once Gandalf throws Saruman out of the king's body, basically, this guy is able to then realize where his country has come. Through that, Aragorn's able to create a relationship with him and these people in which he kind of starts to feel like, maybe I could be a king. You get that sense where he's just such a good leader, where he can lead these people throughout this battle, and you really feel that in this movie. Now, perhaps the most important piece of this movie in regards to everything is riding on this one character, otherwise the movie will fail, is Gollum, portrayed by Andy Serkis brilliantly. Thank goodness this didn't turn out to be a J.R.R. Binks thing, because this thing could really come off pretty horrifically annoying. And there are a few scenes where you're like, okay, yeah, we get it, he likes the fish and everything, well, whoopity-doo. But it's nothing, really. It's just such an amazing feat, this character. And even watching the film, you know, it's 10 years old now, it still is mind-blowing. The work that was done, motion capture work, and by this actor, just the performance that he gave. It's great, and all the different technical things that went into that character were so impressive. It's kind of like the Yoda of Empire Strikes Back. Without that character, if it hadn't worked, if it hadn't been convincing, the movie would have been brought down seriously on a lot of levels. Now, Frodo and Sam have split off from the group in this movie, and they're going, of course, to Mordor to throw the ring into the mountain. The thing that you start to see in this movie really is it's starting to eat away at Frodo. You start to see it, the toll that it's taking on him physically, emotionally, and mentally. You really start to feel that in this movie. And that's one of the things that was portrayed so well in all three of these movies, is the alluring quality of the ring, what it is capable of doing. You really start to think of this inanimate object as if it is a living being or entity of some kind that has thoughts and wills and desires. It goes really without saying that this movie looks incredible. I mean, the cinematography in these movies is beautiful. It just makes you want to go to all these places. You just want to go to New Zealand and stand on a mountain and just be like, wow, this stuff is on this earth. Like, it just, everything in this movie looks so amazing. And that's one of the great things about this series too, is because although there's a lot of CGI work in it, Peter Jackson has a good way of incorporating CGI with realistic things and putting something CGI or, you know, not real in a mostly real shot. And that's why a lot of the CGI really works in these movies, is because it's incorporated with something that actually exists. Most of the scenery and everything, and the backgrounds and everything is real. They really are in these amazing places in New Zealand, and that really helps these movies tell the stories well. There's a great emotional undercurrent in this movie with Aragorn and Miranda Otto's character, who starts to kind of have a crush on him. Even though it definitely added depth to that relationship, I felt like, wow, woman, you've only known him for like a day. Maybe don't fall in love with people in a day, because, you know, that's not a good idea. But hey, whatever. I like that character though, because she's a strong woman, you know. She's strong physically, maybe not so much emotionally, because she met a man with a beard and long hair and was like, oh, you're so hot. let's be married now. Oh, who gave you that necklace? That was a woman. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, whatever. In Return of the King, I'll look over at Boromir for 1 second, and it'll all be okay because I'll find my man then. No, but seriously, The Two Towers is a film that builds and builds and builds, and you can feel like this sense of urgency. And I don't really want to say that a lot of it's exposition. I'm going to say that it's building to something, and that's the Battle of Helm's Deep. One of the best battle sequences ever put to film. It is mind-blowing, the amount of work that was put into that movie. If you watch the special features on the Blu-rays, where do you even begin? I mean, as a filmmaker, to approach something like that, what do you do? It's like, I would explode. I don't know, I would be so excited to film it, but it's like, wow. The stuff that went into that sequence and the amount of suspense they were able to sustain, you know, with the Uruk-hai army coming up and they're hitting their spears against the ground and Aragorn commanding all of the elves and the humans and everything. And they added a great sense of comedy to it with Gimli and Legolas counting how many people they were able to kill. With the story of Gollum and Frodo and Sam and the deception that's going on there and how he's splitting Sam and Frodo apart, it really gave that relationship more emotion. And although I do like Fellowship a tad more, possibly because it just, you know, it is the slowest of the three, I feel, because it has the least amount of spread out action of the three, but I don't really feel like I can fault the film for that. I think the only thing about the movie that I wasn't a huge fan of was the Treebeard stuff. I don't really care for him as a character, and I've never really been a Merry and Pippin fan. I know that this is really the film where Merry kind of starts to mature more. Pippin's still a little boy in this film. Really, Return of the King is where Pippin gets spanked and he starts to actually go like, oh, okay, there's actually some huge life-altering war around me, I better step up to the plate. So that story element didn't interest me as much as the others, but you know, I'm not really gonna fault the film for that, because these three films are like one gigantic movie, and all these pieces have to be in there for the films to work. Two Towers is an excellent film with an amazing scope, beautiful music once again, great performances, incredible battle sequences. It for sure gets an A+. So guys, I just want to let you know this is probably going to be the last video I film in this apartment. I have rented a new place for myself. I'm going to be moving in tomorrow. So please bear with me as I assemble my new poster background. It might look a little crappy for a week or two, but I'm going to be moving in there tomorrow, and so this is actually going to be my last video here. I'm going to try to make it look similar, recreate it as best I can. But thanks a lot for sticking with me as always, and if you like this review, then you can click right here and get Stuckmann eyes.